Our review of the day is going to be for Hook. Hook is the 1991 film based on the story of Peter Pan, a retelling of the story of Peter Pan. This is directed by Steven Spielberg, famous director, one of the greatest directors ever, and starring Robin Williams, because, of course, if you're going to get somebody to play a big kid, you're probably going to get Robin Williams. Him or probably Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks also played a pretty good big kid in Big, so either one of those two, I think, would have been very good.
Yeah.
But here, like I said, you have a retelling of the story of Peter Pan, the famous story of the boy who never wanted to grow up, who wanted to play in Neverland forever and have adventures with his Lost Boys. Here, it's all about Robin Williams, who is a older Peter Pan. He did grow up, and he grew up to be, as they keep saying in the movie, an old fat ass man. Which when Robin Williams, when he takes his shirt off, he's not even that fat. He's not even really fat at all. He's actually kind of in okay shape. So they keep like I'm like, oh my God, you're fat. It's like, damn, dude, like he's in okay shape.
He's just an adult, and they hate that. That's all it is.
Yeah, but
you grew up. That's disgusting.
Yeah, because even Hook, who's played by Dustin Hoffman in this movie, is just looking him up and down. It's like, my God, what happened to you? What happened to you? It's like he called him a codfish and bloated, pale faced. It's like, whoa, man. Yeah, so you have him where it's the typical kind of movie thing. Sometimes you'll have dads in movies where they're a workaholic. They're all about their job. They, ignore their kids, ignore their family. And it's all about, he's a lawyer and he's like, I got to close this big deal. This big deal's happening. It's always like the big deal in movies that a person has to close or account or something like that. So he's, his time is so preoccupied with, being this adult, being a workaholic, his job. He's ignored his family. He's ignored what it means, to truly be a kid and to have that fun again. And it's all about recapturing that youth inside of all of us. I think it's kind of the main theme and main message here. So you have it where they're going back home and they meet Maggie Smith, who's his grandmother. That's his wife's grandmother. So he ended up marrying Wendy, who's a famous Peter Pan character. He ended up marrying her granddaughter, Moira. And then so they went back home, and it's played by Maggie Smith, who's the grandmother, who plays grandmother Wendy, who people might know Maggie Smith. She was Professor McGonagall in the Harry Potter movies. And I was looking at this man, I was like, man, Maggie Smith, she's like one of those people that's always been old to me. Like, she's never been young, like even in the Harry Potter movies and everything like that. It's just like, man, she's kind of one of those people. But you see him, and she's trying to tell him, like, you are the real Peter Pan. The stories are all true. You took me to Neverland when I was a little girl, and everything like that. And he ends up getting a visit from Tinkerbell, who is played by, in this, Julia Roberts, who I never knew Julia Roberts was in this movie. Who she was very young in this movie too. And in fact, it's kind of strange that this Tinkerbell looks way better than Tinkerbell did in the recent movie that we just watched, Pan and Wendy. I thought it doesn't have that weird kind of CGI to it that kind of is going to age pretty poorly. And she's like, she's also trying to convince him of this, and she's the one that ends up taking him back to Neverland. And like I said, that's where he comes into a counter with Captain Hook, because he has to go back because Captain Hook ends up kidnapping Peter Pan's children in this. His two children's names. Let me see if I can pull up their names real quick.
Jack and
Maggie.
Jack and Maggie
are his two kids' names. So he ends up kidnapping them. So he has to go and find them. Yeah. So how many times have you seen this film before, Chris?
More times than I can count. It's a childhood favorite. So it was Hook, Lion King, Land Before Time, An American Tail, Balto. Those kind of movies were like on repeat for me as a child. So yeah. There was something scary about the animated Disney movies from the 50s. Like, they all had a certain thing. Maybe it was like the inherent racism that was like embedded, but something about those movies kind of creeped me out. So having this movie be live action from 1991, and I was born in 94, this was my this always was my Peter Pan story, like my favorite Peter Pan movie. So yes, I love this movie.
Yeah. And there's been 10 Peter Pan movies. 10, I
Damn.
see. So there's a lot of different incarnations of Peter Pan and what they do. And actually, I think I'm looking at this list of seeing all the different Peter Pan movies. I think this is missing Pan and Wendy. So I think including Pan and Wendy would be 11, actually, if you include that one.
Crazy.
So yeah, I mean, it's a story that it's like you said, old. When you mentioned in Pan and Wendy, old story. So there's tons of different people who want to come in and do their different things with it. And to talk a little bit about some of the more recent Pan movies that we've had, like we talked about a little bit in the review. Hunter had seen it, I haven't seen it. And I was. Did you see Pan in 2019? No.
No, I did not.
Oh,
I did, yeah,
2015 is when it came out. I'm sorry, 2015.
yeah.
Um,
I saw I saw the trailer, and I saw that it was a prequel because Captain Hook wasn't Captain Hook yet. He was like an explorer, and the pirate bad guy was Blackbeard or something, played by Hugh Jackman,
Oh, okay. So that was the premise of it. Okay,
right?
because
Yeah,
I never saw it myself.
yeah.
I just know that movie for them doing a terrible rendition of "Smells Like Teen Spirit." That's the only thing I really know that movie from.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. But yeah, so that's sort of kind of I know the movie from mostly. But they're trying to do more of it. Seemed like with a little bit with Pan, a little bit with Pan and Wendy, kind of go in a little bit more of a darker tone with some of these movies. Also trying to capitalize on what's the big theme going on in movies now. And I think with Pan, it was probably more of like Pirates of the Caribbean is really big, so we're gonna make it more like Pirates of the Caribbean, more swashbuckling like
Yeah.
that. With Pan and Wendy, I feel like maybe the tone more kind of young adult type stuff, because that's really big, when that happened in the 2010s, kind of leaning on that, trying to do a little bit more angsty type of thing. That's what you kind of said about Peter Pan, in this newer version of it with Pan and Wendy, a little bit more kind of an angsty type thing. So me watching Hook for the very first time, I was really, delighted by kind of what I said was missing from Pan and Wendy, and that was kind of the whimsy of it. It was bright, which was nice. It wasn't like this darkish hue to the screen and everything like that. Like you could actually see kind of all this kind of what's going on. And also you don't have to make it super realistic with the pirates, you know what I mean? Of making them all look dirty and grungy. Like that's kind of fine, but you also have to remember it's a Neverland, so it's a make believe place. So it's like, why would you
For
adhere?
kids.
Yeah, for kids, you know what I mean? This is a kid's version of what a pirate would look like. And you get that very much like with the way Captain Hook looks, Dustin Hoffman. He looks very much like you see him in the animated version with the mustache, the hat, the hair, everything like that. You know what I mean? So you get very much that sense. And when you see, like, even with his lair, like he has his own private quarters in the ship, Captain Hook, let me see if I can pull that up. Like it looks very nice. It looks very elaborate. It looks very, you know what I mean? Like very cool and everything. And again, it fits like for a kid's movie and for that's what you're trying to do. What are some of the things you really like about Hook 1991?
I mean, looking back at it, the cast. First of all, Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams, who's just a massive inspiration to me. His energy, the variety of voices, his wit, his speed as a comedian, and this movie is like right after um, uh, Dead Poet Society and Good Morning Vietnam, and this is 1991, so Julia Roberts, she had just done Pretty Woman, so right now she's like, at the time she was the Hollywood it girl. She was the finest thing in Hollywood. Everyone wanted to work with her. So and her Tinkerbell, like you said, she's lit. She shines. She's bright. She's a fairy.
Yeah.
She sprinkles dust and helps you fly. This Yara Shahidi, who I love, she didn't talk until the very end, and she didn't glow or shine. And Julie Roberts' Tinkerbell is a fully fledged character. She's a part of the movie. She is actively trying to convince the Lost Boys that this old badass man is Peter Pan. And that brings me to another thing I love: the Lost Boys. I remember we talked about Peter Pan and Wendy. I said I like this iteration. We had an Asian girl, we had a black girl, black boys, white boys, a child with Down syndrome. But Hook is my favorite Lost Boys. the little the small black child who says, "Oh, there you are, Peter." Like from the very beginning, when Rufio, played by Dante Bosco, who we'll get to that, draws a line and says, "All right, if you think this fat old man is Peter Pan, then stay over there. Otherwise, cross the line." They all cross the line. This little black child is the only one who looks at his face, says, "Oh, there you are, Peter," and then Tinkerbell supports him, and then gradually gets the guys over, and then they start training him. But yes, again, the cast. Also, Bob Hoskins as Shmi. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's like they're like his like these are two great actors, and when you have two great actors who have to play these kind of roles, it's always entertaining because they know how to play with it. But yeah, Dante Bosco's Rufio, who millennials know and love. He went from Rufio to American Dragon Jake Long to Prince Zuko. So like he's the man. I love Dante Bosco.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So what else do I love? I love Steven Spielberg. He invented the blockbuster. If it wasn't for Jaws was the first one, and then it was E.T. Then it was Indiana Jones, and then it was Jurassic Park. Like he's the king of the blockbuster. And his imagination is crazy. So his vision of Neverland is also my favorite as well. I love the Lost Boys' territory. It's playful. There's like it's like different elements. There's like penguins and like sunshine and mermaids. It's fantastical. Like you said, it's whimsy. Like it has that childhood wonder that is Peter Pan. And of course, Robin Williams, seeing him the training and that incredible dinner scene where they're all pretending to eat, but it's not until their leader Peter Pan believes and plays along that the food appears. It's magical. It's cinema, as Scorsese would say. So there's a lot I love about this movie. If anyone like the only gripe I guess would be the runtime. It's long. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
It is.
But it's worth it. It's totally worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was clicking on the movie and I was like, damn, it's 2 hours and 21 minutes. I thought this would be like max, like, hour and 50, maybe 2 hours, but 2 hours and 21 minutes. So it is a pretty long movie there at 2 hours and 21. But like you said, with the imagination stuff, with like when they're, when the Lost Boys, when they go to their place and their area, you see that, like you said, these different elements kind of going on because there's one element where there's snow and one element. So it's different seasons that they have. And then the dinner table scene, which was a really good scene, is the scene where he's going back and forth with Rufio again, trying to make the kid come out, of him and seeing that whole training process, what I mean? Love a good training montage. Who doesn't love a good training montage? Where he's trying to relearn how to become Peter Pan again. And to see that. And I thought that was a really great scene. Like I said, it doesn't happen until he believes, what he's seeing and he believes, what he's doing. And this imagination kind of comes in life. And I thought that was very special. Some of the stuff, some of the elements here, you can kind of maybe criticize because it's like doesn't make total sense. But I guess does it have to really make total sense since it's again this is this make believe imagination world Neverland type thing kind of going on. That's the kind of thing they're playing with. And one example of that is because there's a whole kind of storyline here going on where when Captain Hook kidnaps Peter Pan's kids, brings them back to his ship. He's really working over Jack, you know what I mean? He's trying to make Jack groom him into being his son and everything like that. And then there's a scene where they it's funny, but it doesn't, I guess you just have to, go with it. It's just like when they do baseball and they do a whole baseball thing where people got on actual baseball uniforms. They got stands, everything like that. Like, how would these people even know what baseball is or even, you know what I mean? But whatever, it's funny, you know what I mean? It's just whatever, it's just like, okay, having fun there. The uniforms all say pirates on it, like, okay, it's funny, it's whatever. I think. I mean, how did kind of some of that stuff work for you?
Yeah, looking back at it, that was probably one of the more silly parts. Like I'm pretty sure Hook said that Jack explained to him baseball, but that doesn't explain how they suddenly get all the stands and make it. I mean, I guess they could have, but still, it is silly that they had jerseys like ready to go. Yeah, so like you said, you do have to, even though it's a fantasy movie, things like that, you still have to suspend disbelief and just go with it. Um, what was it? What was it? I do like the what did you think about is it Toodles, the lost boy who uh who also grew old and like lost his marbles?
Toodles. Who was that played by?
I don't remember, but
Let's see if I can pull it up. Toodles there. I'm trying.
Arthur Mallet or Arthur Mallet?
Arthur
Toodles.
Toodles. Was he the one with the kind of the glasses?
Yeah, the old guy in the glasses. He was living with Wendy. Like he was like, Peter, I lost my marbles, and but he actually
Oh,
did lose his marbles.
oh yes, that guy. Yeah, I thought. I mean, again, it's one of the more goofier elements there. Like he's kind of just a running joke through most of it. Um, I thought. I mean, because you only spend a little bit of time with him, just that little bit there.
Yeah,
But it's just kind of okay for me. I mean, I was just like, okay, it's again more of a goofier type element. I don't think you have to play down the kids. You see some of the stuff that
yeah.
maybe do that, but you also see some more stuff that also can respect their intelligence. Like I think a lot of Pixar movies, that's what they're very good at. Like when you see Toy Story, or you see Soul or something like that, they respect the kids' intelligence and know that okay, we'll do some goofy stuff every now and then, but also we'll respect that they understand things as well, and it helps when kids grow older into teenagers, young adults, further on that it's like looking back on things, they go like, oh, this is what this mean. Oh, this person wanted to commit suicide. Oh, okay, damn. All right, didn't really get that when I was a kid. So I thought that that's again playing to the fact there. What did you kind of think about that character?
I liked him. I thought it was like a sweet reveal that the other Lost Boy. It's funny how all my favorite Lost Boys, aside from Rufio, were black. You have the small kid, and then you have the big kid who kind of resembles. If you remember the animated movie, there was the Lost Boys are dressed like animals, and the fatter kid is dressed as a bear. I like the heavier set black child kind of resembled the bear. So I was wondering if that was intentional. Um, so it was a sweet reveal that he actually did lose his marbles, um, and it's just I love how the movie adds, even though it's about embracing your child, it's still adding a somberness to growing up. Like it's kind of sad that Toodles lost his marbles because the marbles were his happy thought, as we see in the end of the movie. When he finds his marbles, he's like, "Oh, my marbles!" And he starts flying. It's really sweet. Um, Also, Julia Roberts being a fully fledged character as Tinkerbell, it also her love and affection for Peter Pan. It must be from the original story, but by the Scottish author J.M. Barrie, because in the original animated movie from Disney, remember Tinkerbell is jealous of how close Peter and Wendy are getting. So it's kind of cool to see a little bit of that in this movie when she grows really big and busts out of her Tinkerbell house, and she's like fully dressed, and she is able to give Peter Pan a proper kiss, not just a fake little toy thing or like a peck on the cheek, but Peter Pan, I love you, I've always loved you, and now I'm big enough to say it. Like even the script is pretty solid. Like in this movie. It's a pretty great script. Like the things that are said about growing up or still remembering who you are, it's very poignant and very eloquent. It's very well written. But yeah, like scenes like that are really fantastic. And also, I love the fact that Peter Pan's sword is shorter than Captain Hook's because again, if you remember the original animated movie, Peter Pan fought with a dagger versus Captain Hook's actual like pirate sword. And it was interesting that Peter Pan would always beat him when all he's using is a smaller knife versus an actual sword. So to see Robin Williams wield a smaller blade versus Dustin Hoffman's full sword, I was like, that's also reminiscent, and I like those details.
Interesting. I don't remember in this movie. So this movie doesn't include Tiger Lily. I don't think.
It does not.
It doesn't.
There's no Tiger Lily, no indigenous characters. I think in the early '90s, Spielberg was maybe smart, maybe to avoid trying to bring that to screen because at the time, you know, there was a much sensitivity in the culture. I don't think he would have known. Like if he went in that direction, it would have been very stereotypical.
Mm, okay.
I fear.
Yeah, because it just made me think of that because you talked about Tinkerbell and her being in love with Peter Pan, and also Tiger Lily was also somebody who was interested in Peter Pan
Yeah,
along with Wendy, and everything like that.
yeah,
So just that, yeah, that's like just thought about that there's actually no Tiger Lily in this. We speak about the different Lost Boys here, like you talked about some of the very, you see some black Lost Boys, you see some white Lost Boys, you see some Asian Lost Boys. I think even maybe some indigenous Lost
yeah,
Boys that look like maybe even they're spread in there. Some people,
yeah.
and you get some with some good speaking time. Like you have Thud. Thud was the bigger, kind of chubbier kid. He even
Yeah, I love that.
He's played by Rashawn Hamad, who's there, and he even does like he has his own like little special move that he does. You know what I mean? When he does kind of like rolls into a ball and things, which look completely completely comical. That looked completely just so fake, but you know what I mean. Again, these kids taking on all these pirates and everything like that. So that's why I say you have to have a little bit more
Yeah,
fun with it, you know what I mean, to have that where it is like these kids who are taking on these grown adults and winning, to add a little bit more fun and things like that to it. Hello, Marley, how you doing there, man? Thanks for joining us, and thanks for stopping by in it. What would you say was some of the kind of the weaker elements for you with Hook?
weaker elements. I guess the runtime is as long as 2 hours and 20 minutes because there's a lot of exposition. We have to explain what happened. We have to explain the back and forth, why Peter Pan is this age and why Wendy is so old. Um, it, it I guess the first act when we're establishing the home life and the relationships that could have been like we get the picture with just I think all we need is the scene with missing the baseball game. He's at work and that little cell phone shootout thing with his competitive with his lawyer friend, like they're like who can draw faster with their '90s cell phone. Um, that scene where they go to that gala, the whole reason why they're in London in the first place. I think maybe that could have been cut. Um, so I guess the weaker points are just things that could be cut to make the movie a little bit shorter. But other than that, I can't think of any other weaker elements. John Williams' score is fantastic. John
Mm.
Williams once again working with Steven Spielberg. Uh, how about for you? Like I really can't think of. I love this movie so much. Like any other weaker elements.
I guess I agree. Yeah, you could cut some stuff there. I mean, it's like I said, typical overworked dad. He's hard at work. Then he's
Yeah,
missing his kids. I think you could have summed that up because people want to get quicker to going to Neverland, finding that, doing the Peter Pan stuff. Them like I kind of like how it's seen, like how we don't actually see Captain Hook kidnap the kids really all that much. Like we see kind of a good amount of aftermath from it. Like we don't actually really see all that much of it there. Like you see kind of the marks on the wall. You see the letter that's stabbed in the door. You see kind of kids being taken from the beds. But I like how he kind of plays with that a little bit. Like you don't see, it's not very explicit. All the stuff of Captain Hook, just running in, grabbing the kids, you know what I mean, and everything like that, and taking them away, which I liked. And then also, oh yeah,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, you go ahead. Yes.
Um, just for reference, most Peter Pan stories, the kids and everyone, we're in Neverland within the first 10 minutes. In Hook, within it takes like 40 minutes to get to Neverland. We're still doing Earth, busy dad drama, family stuff. Like there's a lot of it.
Mm.
So that like a good portion of it, like this movie could have been maybe an hour 50.
Yeah, because like thinking about Pan
rather
and
than 2 hours and 20 minutes.
because thinking about Pan and Wendy, they kind of get right into it. You know what I mean? They'll go into Neverland.
Exactly.
I feel like like
Yeah.
okay, the girl Wendy, she's fearing growing up, the responsibilities, all that stuff. Okay, parents kind of suck. Okay, boom, let's go to Neverland. Let's go. Let's get this done. They kind of do it. I feel like really quickly into it.
Yeah.
And that movie's much shorter too. It's only an hour and 47 minutes. Movie much shorter.
Ex- exactly.
Yeah. But the real star, of this movie, what makes this movie, I think, such a classic is Robin Williams. Robin Williams, like I said, if you're going to pick somebody to play a big kid, Robin Williams is the guy that you play, is you pick. And I wish they kind of did more, with him kind of reclaiming that. Again, if you expedited some things, cut some scenes, you could have, had him, really embrace that persona more of him being, going back to being the Peter Pan that he was before, being this kid, and kind of dealing with that. What do you think about that?
Um, in my opinion, it was handled pretty well because they gave a lot of time to it. They gave us the training montage. They gave us seeing his reflection in the water and seeing his younger self, which was cool to see how he actually looked. Like I like that Spielberg gave it to the audience. He actually showed us what Peter Pan looked like when he was a kid. He's in the cave trying to find his shadow, um, and then the whole criteria of checking out the box. If you're Peter Pan, then you can fly, you can fight, and you can crow. And as I said when we talked about Peter Pan and Wendy, Robin Williams, as we know, his voice with like his talent with that was his voice. His crow is he actually sounds like he goes for it and goes for like the actual rooster crow, where uh, the young actor who plays the latest Peter Pan, it doesn't really it's a caw. It's not a crow, but uh, like Robin Williams, he is the best. And yeah, so as I said, in my personal opinion, for me at least, that his transition into finding that Peter Pan again, that was handled well. That was given the time it needed for me at least.
Yeah. Do you think that's part of what adds to this movie being so well remembered is because of Robin Williams, and kids have a lot of fond memories of Robin Williams, just from things, just throughout his career. Like, he was also a big part of, kids' childhood being a part of Aladdin as well, which he was a
Yeah,
big part of. Which
yeah.
Aladdin came after this, right?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, because that came at 90.
Aladdin was like 92 or 93.
Yeah, so he came after this. So he was kind of a big part of kids' childhood. Do you think that's part of reason this is so kind of well remembered, especially for millennials? I think too.
Yeah, yeah. You asked the question on Twitter, and it's for sure the reason. It's Robin Williams, who we love. It's Dante Bosco, who millennials love. Um, Dustin Hoffman, he doesn't voice work in Kung Fu Panda. And I think we all still know and love Julia Roberts. But it's the energy and levity and light he brings to Peter Pan. It's his relationships to the Lost Boys and all their little fun. Like, they really created a culture within these Lost Boys, and you can tell these are things they came up with like on set, like things the Lost Boys would do, like Bangarang. Like, Spielberg didn't come up with this, if you're chilling with your friends and like you just do something really cool and they're hyping you up, like, yeah, I did that, that came from them, and you can feel that this movie has a authenticity to it because of that. Um, yeah, I think that's why it was made for us. It's made for kids, and it's beautiful. It's bright. It's fun. I think that's why.
Yeah. Because I'm looking at Robin Williams in the '90s. So yeah, there's a lot of kind of '90s kind of movies here. Millennials will probably remember Mrs. Doubtfire. He did
Yes.
that, and you're right. He did Aladdin in '92, so that was a year after this, and then he did
I do too.
Mrs. Doubtfire in '93, and then he did Jumanji in '95. So it's kind of just back to back.
Busy.
Yeah, so it was, the '90s was Robin Williams. That was his time, man, to do that. Um, so
And then '97 was Good Will Hunting, and he got nominated for an Oscar.
yeah, '97, yeah, Good Will Hunting, yeah. I don't know if
Did
you
did he win? Did he win for that?
for best supporting actor, I believe he did.
Yeah,
I want to
I
say he
think he
did.
did.
Um,
I think he did.
I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, he was, yeah, '90s were very busy for him. Yeah, I even remember that movie.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Flubber. I remember that Flubber.
Yeah. Slumber. Yep.
That
Disney.
yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, this was, yeah. So this was something I think Robin Williams was a huge part of why people really remember it, and people like Marley's even saying in the chat here, Love Hook classic, and also I mean, there's some good stand-ups. Dustin Hoffman makes for a good hook too. I think the makeup, everything adds to that. But as well as I think his performance too, like he is playing the kind of that good animated version of Captain Hook in a realistic manner, and translates it well to the big screen. What did you kind of think about his performance there?
Uh, yeah, you said it. Incredible. He is a an A class actor, and he didn't phone in the performance. He immersed himself in this character. I think an actor like him, with his imagination, as soon as he saw the hair and makeup and wardrobe, he knew exactly what he had to do. I think he knew what this character taught, how he sounded when he spoke, how he walked, how he carried himself. Um, like the voice he does for Hook is amazing. It's menacing. It has a slight regalness to it, like a little British twinge. And if you remember in the third act when they're fighting, the way he eggs on Rufio to fight, it's like Rufio, Rufio. I was like, oh, like it's like to this day, like because knowing what happened, spoiler alert, it's chilling because he is calling Rufio to his death, unfortunately. But yeah, Dustin Hoffman is incredible. The way he yells Shmi. To be Captain Hook, you gotta yell Shmi. You gotta master that yell of Shmi. It has to be angry but also desperate and kind of pathetic. Of course, his hatred and fear of clocks was fantastic. It's a room full of broken clocks. Like that moment was really funny. Uh, I wish Jude Law, who I love, had some more of that. Maybe they kind of touched on it, but like Captain Hook, Dustin Hoffman had a room full of clocks that like didn't work. He was like, "This is my happy place. Look at all these clocks. Nothing, nothing." Like, yeah. So Dustin Hoffman was incredible. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's some really fun performances here. Besides Robin Williams, you know what I mean. Besides even Dustin Hoffman, except Rufio, child actor does a great job here. Really great.
Yeah.
Basco. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't. How do you feel about this comparison? Was he more of a like our millennial version of Kehi Kwan a little bit, like like short round, like maybe, just a guy that rooting for him, and then coming up, he was in a big childhood movie. Kehi Kwan was in Indiana Jones. He was in the Temple of Doom. Dante,
Pyrenees. Yeah.
yeah, and then he was Dante Basco was in Hooks. I wonder if there's a maybe a version of there for millennials there that you kind of have there. Julia Roberts, like I said, really liked her as Tinkerbell. I thought she had a lot of life, a lot of energy to her. Like you said,
Great.
this was when she was really hot
Yeah.
in her career because she was only 23 when she did this movie too. So she was like really
That's crazy.
really hot in this movie.
Really young. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins. A lot of the crew members of the pirates there of Captain Hook are really good too. Like you see a lot of kind of familiar faces, not only Bob Hoskins, but I think I also saw Apollo's trainer in this. He was in this. He was one of the pirates too.
I think you're right. Yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was like, oh, the if people don't know this guy who said throwing the damn towel,
Yeah.
He's I
Oh,
believe
the damn top. Yeah,
he's also in this. I wonder if is that guy still alive? I believe he's still alive. I think.
hope so.
I want to say the last thing I saw him in was when he was in Rocky Balboa, but that came out over that's close to a decade ago. I think that movie came out. But yeah, I kind of like a lot of stuff. Like I say, with the crew and everything like that. I think just like the Lost Boys, they have a lot of good chemistry. When you see the Captain Hook boss them around, especially Smee when he bosses him around, good relationship, good
Yeah,
dynamic. It's a little bit. It's similar, but a little bit. It's way more kind of animated here than it is in something like Pan and Wendy, like with Jude Law and Jim
yeah.
Gaffigan here. But still a really good relationship here. But you'll see a lot of really familiar faces in this. Phil Collins is in this. He's Inspector Good in this. Gwyneth Paltrow plays a young Wendy in this, like a teenage version of Wendy Darling. So she's in this. So yeah, a lot of really good familiar faces in this. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I liked it for what it was. I don't know. I mean, sometimes I'll go back to a lot of these millennial classic movies that a lot of people talk about. Like, I'd already seen Space Jam when I was a kid. So when they did the sequel of it, and people went like, "Man, Space Jam 1 was way better than this." I was like, "Nah, not really." I mean, you know what I mean? Then LeBron James Space Jam. I was like, "Listen, Space Jam 1 isn't a good movie. You just liked it because you were a kid and you liked Michael Jordan. Now you're an adult that it's not really gonna jam with you anymore. It's not gonna really You're not gonna feel it that much with you anymore." And then I kind of had a negative opinion on Hocus Pocus because I watched Hocus Pocus 1 for the first time before I watched Hocus Pocus 2. And I wasn't
Hmm.
really too big on that. But but something like Scooby Doo, which we did, which I hadn't seen Scooby Doo, the one with James Gunn, he wrote the script for that, and the one with Matthew Lillard. I was like, I get what people like about it. Love the cast. Matthew Lillard is a great Shaggy, and he continued to voice that character for years and years afterwards. So I kind of get that. So some of these millennial kind of more movies, I'm like, okay, you know what I mean. I can't really see it too much, but
Awesome.
this one I do. This one I do see it. What would be your rating for Hook?
I also liked in the third act. I don't know if this was like a precursor or someone who created Kids Next Door for Cartoon Network saw this, but the way the Lost Boys prepared for battle and like the 2x4 technology they created to combat the pirates.
Hmm.
You remember that little treadmill thing they built to like make their way through the water to the ship, and then there was like a catapult thing to launch kids onto the ship, and like there was like an egg gun thing, like they shot eggs at the pirates. There was like a gumball gun. There's like all these fun, little weapons that the kids made, and they work, and they're beating the adults. Like that third act, thinking about it now, I wonder if the creator of Kids Next Door saw that and was like, I might use that in the future because it feels that way.
Yeah. Yeah, the different contraptions they have. Yeah, like like the slingshots, all these everything. Again, stuff that kids would
Yeah,
do. You know what I mean? Fighting adults, everything like that. Like when they fight off against the pirates, and then like when they have those arrows that are like covered in paint and everything like that, like that are like
yeah,
plunger type
yeah.
arrows and everything. So yeah, uh, this is very good. What would be your
It's funny.
final rating for it?
Uh, what's your highest and second highest rating for?
So our very highest is This Is Cinema. And then below
Okay.
that is like a high tune in if you want to give it like something a little bit below This Is Cinema.
Uh, it's a long movie, and I do love it, and it's precious to me and my childhood. But it's also a movie I can watch right now and still be delighted by. Uh, I will say tune in. I want to say this is cinema for me. It is cinema, but if I'm going to recommend it for an audience who are new to it, I'll say tune in.
Tune in. I'll agree. I'll say kind of a little bit tune in, but also like a little bit of a lower tune in for me. Um, did enjoy it. This is my first time seeing Hook. I get what people love about it. I know I see like Rotten Tomatoes has kind of really low scores, like 26% on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of critics maybe at the time weren't vibing with it. So I hate it.
It's crazy.
I guess I kind of get it. Some of the elements of it, maybe being a little bit,
Yeah.
it being a little overly long. A lot of the goofiness of it, maybe isn't it's in everybody's cup of tea. So I get that. But like I said, I want the. I think with a Peter Pan movie, I think you have to have the whimsy of it. You know, you have to have the big
Yeah.
imagination of it because it's all about a kid's imagination
Yeah.
and what kids can do. And I think this movie captured that. And of course, the outstanding performances from Dustin Hoffman and Robin Williams in this. I love that part where Robin Williams and Dustin Hoffman are fighting. Hello, Sebastian. Hey, how's it going there, man? Sebastian's been on the show before. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for the follow, man. But I love when they're fighting. He just rips his wig off and he's just straight bald. Dustin Hoffman is. He's got nothing. Just straight bald. Just like damn. So I did kind of love that moment too on there. So yeah, I would give it kind of a lowish tune in for me. Yeah.
And the crocodile that he had stuffed, like killed and stuffed, still ended up eating him. Like he turned into the clock, but once he was defeated, the clock fell out of the mouth and it landed on top of him. Like,
Oh.
and like it still ate him, even though it's supposed to be dead and stuffed. It's things like that. You have to like suspend disbelief. I'm like, wait, it was killed and stuffed. How did it still like you can fall on it and you can land in its mouth, but it can't close its mouth and eat you. It's
Yeah.
dead, right? So it's things like that, things like the pirate uniform. Those are silly things. I like, oh, okay, sure, you
Yeah.
know.
Sure. Yeah. And this movie was over 30 years ago that this came out. 30,
Yes,
30.
yes.
Wow.
My brother was born in '91, so yes, over 30 years ago.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So that was Hook, 1991. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for coming on.
Classic. Of course. We talked about Peter Pan and Wendy over the weekend. You said you're talking about Hook. I texted you like after we ended the stream. I was like, "Hey, can I be on the conversation?" And you're like, "Sure." I was like, "Bet." So yeah, thanks as always for having me. Love the show. Tell Nick I said hi. I love Nick. Once again, I'm Chris, one half of the Black Stubs, and you can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at the Black Stubs and Instagram at the period Black Stubs. I'm covering what I'm watching, what I enjoy watching, movies, TV. My co-host Sam is a big comic and video game guy, so that's it. We talk about what we're passionate about, and you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
All right.